Hey, what's up, everybody? Not sure if anybody's watching right now, but whoever decides to hop in, if anybody does, or if you end up watching this after the fact, welcome. Uh, this is the Didact YouTube channel. Oh, I'm getting a feedback loop. Hold on just a second. Oh, sorry about that. I was playing my stream on the background here in an echo. Yeah, welcome to the channel. Um, yeah, for anybody who joins or who just watches this sometime later on, or maybe this will just end up being for myself as a good little keepsake to go back and watch, later on in the future. But yeah, welcome. So my name is Daniel. I am a solopreneur and a bootstrapped startup founder. I like to build SaaS products and dev tools. And I have had a dream for years to build a job orchestrator for C Sharp. I fell in love with job orchestrators years ago, um, back when I first started my career in analytics and data engineering and all that kind of good stuff. And it was really fun learning how automations work and learning how like cron jobs and background jobs. Sorry, I'm adjusting the music a little bit. How cron jobs and background jobs and other sorts of things kind of get wired up together. And I realized that a huge portion of like some of the best tech companies in the whole wide world run like their infrastructure off of job orchestrators. So I got started with C Sharp because that's what we used at my day job, and I absolutely loved it. Kind of started out just doing lightweight stuff at first, but then I moved into just like full blown software development over these last 7 years now. And so now I do full stack software dev and data engineering, and uh, actually am trying to leap of faith to do this full time. I am super excited. I love Didact. I've been working really hard on this thing for quite a while now. And I'm really close to finishing my first version and have just been desperately wanting to get more time to knock it out. I've got a lot of amazing ideas for Didact about like what I want to build with it and what kind of features I want to add to it. And I've just been dying to share it with people more often. It's just been hard because life's been kind of crazy and kind of busy for a while. But like I said, this is kind of my first attempt to go full time and really take the leap of faith. So I'm super excited. Um, and I thought it would just be fun to do some live streams while I finish up the first version and add certain features that people may be wanting and so on and so forth. I think it would be super duper fun. So yeah, welcome to the stream, and we're just gonna chill and just build for a little while and chat with whoever ends up coming in. So welcome. And don't mind the lo-fi music. If it ends up being distracting or something, just let me know in the chat and I'll mute it or I'll turn it down or something. I like to listen to music while I work. All right. Let me make sure these socials actually got out on the profile. And if you'll notice, I'm a crazy Halo fanatic. You'll notice in the back I've got my Halo book on the table. I have a needler. The light is kind of blinding right now, but my wife Haley bought me this amazing energy sword that lights up blue when you plug it in, and it's so awesome. That's like my Halo and Star Wars table back there. Yeah, cool little fact, I guess, about Didact. I named it after my favorite Halo character, the Didact. There's actually two of them in the lore, and I named my software after the first one. He's called the Your Didact, but he just goes by Didact for short. Um, and I was a huge fan of the character and the lore and all that, and he was like the master and commander of the Forerunner military in Halo lore, and I thought that would just be like a perfect name for this tool. So Didact is named after, or named in honor of my favorite character. And also, cool fact: the logo is orange and has all these like weird, floating pieces. If you see the logo, let me flip the screen for a minute. So that logo, I actually had I asked a Halo like concept artist who likes to do Halo concept art for fun. I actually asked him to make that logo for me. Um, his name is, I think it's Ideal Roni. I'll have to drop a link like in the description, or I think I'll put it on like my about page on the Didact website. But he was kind enough to make that logo for me, and I asked him to like fashion it in the sense of the Didact's armor from Halo. So that's why the color is orange, and also why it's got like all these like weird floating pieces. Let me show it again. Yeah. So anyway, shout out to Ideal Roni. You're the man, and I love my logo, and I will never stop bragging about it. All right, let me check socials here, make sure my message got out, and yeah, we'll just kind of get to building. Okay. Let me make sure everything got out okay. I think we're good. Let me just double check socials. Oh, my wife just texted me and said the banner on my website works. Oh, yeah, let's go check this out. So, I added this cool little feature to my website um, just yesterday or the day before, where if I'm live streaming on YouTube and you happen to visit Didact's website while I'm live streaming, there's this little banner that shows up at the top that flashes orange, and it's got a direct link to like the live stream I'm running right now, because I'm never going to have more than like one live stream running at a time because I'm a solo founder. So if you visit my site while I'm live streaming, it should have a URL that sends you straight to YouTube. I worked like all day on that yesterday or the day before, and it looks like she's saying it's working. So that is awesome. Oh, she's watching. She's the best. That's so cool. Let me check out the site here. That's so cool. I need to share my screen, I guess, don't I? It'd probably help if you could see my screen. There we go. Sorry, I'm still like setting up some of the camera stuff in here, and I don't have a like proper arm for my microphone yet, so sorry if my voice kind of goes in and out a little. I gotta get a mic arm soon. That's okay. We'll make it work though. Let me just scooch down just a little bit. There we go. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. So this is the Didact site. as I had it open earlier. So if I refresh it, hey, it showed up. The logo's kind of messed up. I don't know why the YouTube logo's not loading. Go figure. Oh, does it sound? Oh, thank you, Haley. I'm glad the volume sounds good. You the bomb. Oh, of course, something goofy happened with the logo. Let's see what's going on here. There's always the weirdest stuff that happens with Nuxt. Whenever you build websites with Nuxt, I swear the Nuxt image like plugin that you can use on Nuxt sites, it literally breaks all the time. It drives me insane. Okay, that's okay. Let's just see if I click it though, will it go to the YouTube channel? I swear. Oh, it will, it works. All right, that's awesome. Heck yeah, that's awesome. I worked really hard on that. Oh, heck yeah. Let's go. It feels good when you work really hard to build this like nifty little cool marketing doohickey, especially when you're a builder like me and marketing's a little hard to do. When you just like work really hard on something like that and it just works. That just feels so good. So good. Okay. You have to apologize, or let me apologize for a minute, everybody. Taking a picture of all my sound levels because my wife is saying everything sounds pretty good. I'm like a complete novice at all this, so this is definitely a new experience. All right, cool. I think we're solid. We can actually get some work done now, do something important. So I'm going to open up a Visual Studio solution file and we're going to get going. I have got to fix that logo, man. That just drives me nuts. I don't know why Nuxt always does that. Boy, that drives me crazy. Anyway, that's okay. Yeah, so how about I'm gonna open up the Didact console Visual Studio solution. Cool. So some background about this. So this is a cool little web app that I'm building for Didact, where if you end up wanting to become like a paid user, then the way that Didact is being set up right now is essentially, let me open up program.cs so you actually can look at something. Okay, so just for some background, for those who may not know, Didact is an open core tool. So I have these set of applications that I am pre-building for users so that they can basically grab the build artifacts straight from GitHub. And it's not like your typical commercial, C# project, because normally it seems like when people build things, they're usually building or releasing NuGet packages, because a lot of times people just end up, building libraries. And this is something I want to make some videos on YouTube later, like maybe some shorts and videos, and I think like some blog posts where it would honestly be good. But like in a nutshell, basically, I'm kind of of the opinion that it's really advantageous to build like not just to create the source code, but I feel like it's a good idea to like actually create build artifacts, like release artifacts, where people can get started super duper quickly. They don't have to add like a NuGet package and then create a host app from scratch where they wire everything up. It's kind of the other way with Didact. With Didact, I want to provide a set of pre-built apps that everybody can just take as is. And that way, a lot of the opinions that need to be formed, or like the decisions that need to be made, that don't really have anything to do with your background jobs. Like, it's more just host app wiring stuff up, wiring up like the cron logic and the background logic and all the cajillion things that go into job orchestration. I don't really want that to be a NuGet package where you have to wire everything up in a host app. I kind of took a different approach with this, and I said, why don't I, instead of giving people a NuGet package or like a set of NuGet packages to use, why don't I pre-build some applications? You as the user can just grab them as is, straight from GitHub, or like straight from like an SSH script or like a CLI or something, and you just grab them as is and you get started, and like ta-da, like it just works, easy peasy. And so that's kind of my approach with Didact. And another thing that's pretty pinnacle to the architecture with Didact is that it's built on a plugin architecture. So basically, all of your background jobs and your flows, you write them as class libraries, which usually C# calls plugins. And then you take those class libraries, so those plugin libraries basically, and you deploy them somewhere with Didact CLI, and the engine like basically absorbs it automatically. I'm kind of giving you like a crash course run through of how the app is going to work, essentially. And yeah, that's kind of the idea for like how I wanted background jobs to be wired up. Basically, if you're using Didact, the only thing I really want you to be concerned about is writing the background jobs themselves. And in Didact, they're called flows. But a flow is basically just a term for a background job. That's all it essentially is. And I just kind of want you to not worry about anything else. I don't want you to have to worry about a UI. I don't want you to have to worry about wiring up a host engine. I don't want you to have to worry about all the SQL or the EF core stuff or the DB migrations and the yada, yada, yada. And like, I'm just talking about like basic, simple job orchestration. I'm not even getting into like any super deep, like crazy stuff. But the point is, I want Didact to be this powerful, pre-built platform that you can just take as is with its pre-built Docker images and executables, with its nice CLI and everything. Like I'm doing the work of like a massive VC funded dev team. Like I'm trying to solo build an entire job orchestrator by myself. Like this is the work that like a whole dev team of people would normally be doing in Silicon Valley, and I'm basically trying to do it myself. So yeah, so essentially that's kind of a little bit of an idea for like the kind of architecture that I want to use for Didact, like what I want to do with it, why I designed it the way that I did, like why I'm architecting it the specific way that I am, and so on. And anyway, yeah, that's just kind of some background about it. So it's an open core, dual licensed, self-hostable, pre-built platform of apps with like a couple NuGet packages you'll use, but mainly it's pre-built apps. And then, yeah, you essentially take what I've built for you already, and then you just start making your little class libraries. In Didact, I call them flow libraries. In fact, let me, while I'm talking about this, how about I go to the documentation site, and we'll just kind of chat about the docs for a minute. And by the way, the docs are not finished. and I know that, and I apologize. I just have not had time to fully finish them yet, but it's getting there. It's definitely getting there. And there will be like a full working, complete, sensible doc site as version 1 gets wrapped up this month. I'm super excited about that. Let me, I'm going to increase the resolution on my machine. And there you go. I think y'all can read that. Hopefully y'all can read that a little bit easier now. Okay. So yeah, so if you want to learn a little more about Didact, I don't want to just like spend the whole stream necessarily, talking about the architecture per se. Although this is really fun and it's good to just kind of get it out there. But on the documentation site, I have some pages that kind of talk about what it is, how I built it, how it's wired up the way it is, yada, yada, yada. And so right here on the first page of Didact's documentation site, if you do get started, it takes you to a page called What is Didact? And it kind of just gives you a good rundown. Like, what is this tool? What is the point of this tool? What is it supposed to do? How is it built? What is like some of my motivation for why it is the way it is? That's essentially what you'll see on this first page here. So I talk about how it's a code first orchestrator. There's no drag and drop type stuff because I really don't want that stuff. It's full stack. You've got an engine, you have a CLI, you have a user interface, you get all the nice stuff baked in that you would want in any sort of like proper job orchestrator that you would find in Python. It's standalone because there's pre-built apps. It's not like a NuGet package, like I mentioned earlier, where you add it to like a host app you're wiring up yourself. You take the host apps I've already built for you, the Docker images or the executables or whatever it is you use, and you kind of just run with them. And then you just worry about writing your plugins, which is down here. And this is where you make your class libraries. This is where you define your flows and your background jobs that I was talking about earlier. And basically, you build your class libraries, you deploy them somewhere, and then the engine absorbs them at runtime after startup, which gives it a really nice, like really powerful, always on type feature. And it just starts running your background jobs, bam, just right like that, and it just gets going. So this first page, What is Didact, is a great description of like what exactly the architecture is and just some of my motivations. Speaking of motivations, there's also another page called Why Build Didact? Because, whenever you build a developer tool for people, developers are always like, well, what about all these other tools? Why should I care about what you're doing? Because so-and-so's already built A, B, C, D, and E. And I thought this would be a great page to address that, partly. So Why Build Didact is a great page. Just talks about like my motivations, my background, my love for like data engineering and async processing, stuff where you can kind of learn a little bit more about like why I'm doing things the way that I do and why I feel like I've got a really novel, like interesting approach to this, which I think is going to be really fun. Also, since people usually ask, how does this compare to A, B, C, D, and E? I have comparison pages on the main Didact site, and then this is like a list of all the comparison pages on the doc site. And so right here, you can actually see I've already written some articles where I compare Didact to like other orchestration engines and so on, like Hangfire or Quartz.net or Temporal or some other ones. Some parts of the Hangfire article are definitely a little bit outdated. I need to go back and update those. And then I've gotten requests for other ones too, like Corvel, Elsa, Apache Airflow. There's like plenty of other ones out there. So I'll be writing more comparison articles soon. And I think that'll be really good because developers just like to understand like how does your tool, how is it different from somebody else's tool or whatever. And how does this stack up against A, B, C, and D? And this would be like a great way to do that. So I cannot recommend enough for anybody watching this. Go check out the documentation site. I apologize again. I know it's not finished yet. I just now that I've taken the leap of faith to go full time, I'm finally catching up on a lot of this stuff. And I've been finishing up some of the initial architecture for Didact, which is exceedingly complicated, especially when you're building solo and you're a bootstrapper like me, and you're doing the work of like a huge Silicon Valley team. It's very time consuming and very complex to build a job orchestrator. And so I do apologize, the doc site isn't finished yet, but it will be. Or at least it'll be in a state where you can use Didact as its first version, and all the relevant information you need to create your flow libraries, your plugins, to do like even just like basic engine configuration, environment variable configuration, and stuff like that. You'll have enough information, even on the first version of the documentation site, where you can have all the info that you need, and it'll be good. So you're not crazy if you see some information missing, but it's coming. And I'm super pumped about that. Also, I think my best friend Jordan is in here. Oh, he sure is. Well. Thanks for tuning in. That sounds like I'm telling you to leave. Thanks, dude. Appreciate you joining. My best friend Jordan hopped on stream. If any of you in here are huge Achievement Hunter fans or video game fans, Boot Duke is a great channel. Definitely go check out his videos and live streams and all the fun stuff he likes to do. We play Halo all the time and lots of fun Xbox stuff. Great guy, great channel, and actually he's popping off like pretty hard right now. So if anybody in here is like an Achievement Hunter fan, go check out Boot Duke. Great YouTube channel. All right, yeah. So this is just kind of trying to think if there's anything else y'all may need to know about the documentation site right now. Like I said, there's going to be some more information coming. If you want to see the core concepts area, I've already got a lot of features typed out here. At least it's certainly like the architectural part. I've got some good stuff typed out. I have a lot more features that are in like a work in progress branch on the doc site right now. And so I'll be updating this actually pretty soon. I've had a lot of incomplete pages just sitting like on a Git branch waiting for me to finish some features up. So this will be a big part of the doc site that's going to get updated, and that's going to be really good. Here on the guides page, I haven't quite figured out what I want to do with that yet, but there's going to be lots of guides for you to do various Didact activities you might need, how to construct certain flow libraries, how to publish them, what sort of like publish targets can you use, maybe like if you are setting up an engine for the first time, what are the steps that you have to do to get it set up? How do you deploy it on a server? What about like serverless stuff? There's like all sorts of interesting things that you may want to know. So I'm going to put some guides on this page because remember, Didact is a self-hosted product. I don't have any sort of like cloud offering for it right now. I'm open to that if people end up asking me at some point, but like all my early adopters and the people that I spoke to seem to pretty consistently say they just wanted to run Didact on their own infrastructure. So if you want to set up like, I'm trying to think what a good example would be. Maybe like you want to set up like a reverse proxy in front of Didact UI. Maybe like you want to set up Nginx or IIS or like, there's another one, like the Apache web server. Let's just say like you want to set up some kind of reverse proxy at your company or, you know, on your little infrastructure that you're working with. And you want to know like how to wire all that up to make the UI really performant. This will be a nice little page on the doc site where you can kind of learn about stuff like that, and that'll be good. And then here on this one, there's way too many commands right here. It looks atrocious. I'm going to get rid of a lot of that stuff. But this will be a nice little reference page for things like Didact CLI commands, because since Didact is not just a NuGet package that I'm giving you, but it's like a set of pre-built applications that I'm literally like building ahead of time for you, Docker images and executables and all that. There's also a nice CLI that accompanies those applications for things like building your flow libraries or deploying them, setting environment variables. And then if you're a customer, Didact is going to be set up with a license key mechanism. So if you want to unlock like paid features or other benefits that come in the tool, I'm setting up a license server where you can get an API key and set that as like an environment variable, basically. And the CLI will have like some nice little commands for that, which I think will be kind of cool. One other cool like little idea that I had that I thought would be like so fun to do for the CLI. One idea that I had was to set up a little user interface, like a little tiny dashboard you could run as a command. I don't even know what I would call a command, like maybe Didact env config or something, I don't know. And basically it could start a small web server in your terminal where you can open up a small little dashboard on your browser. And if you want to build the environment variable files that my pre-built apps need in order to run, because again, there's the engine, Didact engine, and there's the UI, which is called Didact UI. Both of them are executables and they're C# apps that you can run separately. And both of them require their own environment variable files. So I thought it would be cool if in the CLI, you could launch a little user interface with like a helper builder where you could like put in each like environment variable value that you need, and it could spit out like a little JSON file for you or something that you could save like locally, or like you could put on your server, or like maybe you could put it like in a key vault or something. I thought that would be a really fun way, like you don't need that to, get the engine or anything up and running. But I thought like that would be a cool little UX, DX, little thing just to make your life a little easier, make it more fun to like get started. So that probably won't be a version 1 thing, but I think I'm going to add that later because it would be really cool. So yeah, so speaking of like the license key mechanism and how all that stuff is going to work, let me go back to the main site. I have really got to fix that stupid logo. That's okay. We'll get back around to it. Yeah, so speaking of like the licensing server and stuff that paid customers use, so like one of the things that I'm wanting to do is have, hold on just a second. I'm talking so much my throat's going dry. Yeah, so one of the things that I want to do is I want to have a little console, that's a misleading word. What I want to have is a web app that paid customers can use in Didact, where they can log in and get that API key they need. Because I mentioned a second ago, if you become a paid customer and you want to get the benefits of Didact, get the full feature set and all that stuff, what you do is get an API key from me, and you basically set that as an environment variable, and then the system uses that to like unlock more powerful features and stuff like that. And I realized when I was kind of thinking about this, I was like, well, people need a licensing server so they can run checks against it, but they would also probably benefit from like a simple dashboard where they can get the API key, just something like dead simple where you can auto-generate a key, you can disable a key, or like maybe you want to look at the audit history for an API key, like if you have one or like multiple keys for some reason, and you want to see like how often they get checked and so on. I thought that having a little console app, or not a console, sorry, a web app would be like really useful for customers. And I thought it would be cool to have like API keys. You could generate like little API keys automatically. You could do things with the licensing server. Maybe there would be a page for like billing, organization info, if you want to add like teammates, like maybe you're a developer, so you make an account on this web app to get an API key, but then like your accounting guy needs in for whatever reason, maybe to get like a Stripe invoice or something. I thought having just a little small login app would be super useful for customers. And I didn't want to put it in the main Didact UI app because that doesn't really have a whole lot to do with like the actual background jobs. This is more like me helping myself with like the monetization aspect and the commercial aspect. And I just didn't want to pollute uh, I don't want to pollute the uh, like main user interface application with stuff that you just don't need to look at. I don't want to like make it harder for anybody than it needs to be. So I was like, well, why don't I just make like a small little web app, a small little licensing server, a little REST API with a little database, and why don't I just kind of put it off to the side, and then like in Didact UI, in the main user interface app, which is the thing everyone would use, like whether you're a free user, whether you're a customer or whoever, everybody needs Didact UI to see the web dashboard so you can see all your flows. And so I was just thinking like, why don't I just make it a different app and just keep the UI clean for flows and background jobs and just kind of leave that as is, and kind of keep that clean, and like I'll just build this thing on the side. And my intention is, if you're a free user, you probably won't even care about this thing that much, because you don't need to make an account on this little web app in order to get started with Didact. This is really just for paid users more than anything. I mean, I wouldn't complain if, free users came in and made accounts or whatever, but like, it's not going to be a requirement to run the app, essentially. So, so this is essentially what you're looking at on screen is, I'm calling it, I was trying to come up with a good name for it because it's essentially like a web UI with a little licensing server and a REST API and all that. And so I came up with the idea of Didact Console. And the reason I chose that name is because I thought about the like AWS console, that's like in the AWS, cloud platform. I think they call that the console. And I was just trying to think of like a good name for it. And I was like, yeah, console is a pretty good name. Like, I think that's a good one to go with. So this project that you're looking at, and also the Nuxt project that I'm about to load, this is essentially me finishing up like just a first version of Didact Console. I need to get this out of the way so I can get like the license key mechanism and the billing and all that good stuff set up, because I need to finish like the other like main applications, essentially. So just a little context for what exactly you're looking at. This is the back end, which I've done basically nothing on, but I'll show you the front end because it looks really good. Become a big fan of mono repos over time too. I used to have each app separate in its own Git repo, and on the Didact doc site, like I say that like that's kind of my preference. I'm not gonna lie though, the more that I played with CI/CD and just kind of gotten more used to Git and all this stuff over the years, I kind of do dig mono repos. Like they are kind of convenient, honestly. So one thing about me that's kind of weird, I don't build user interfaces with C# code like ever. I'm a huge fan of single page apps over in the JavaScript world. I think they are super, super duper popular and super powerful. Swap those. Powerful, but they are also popular. And I really enjoy building user interfaces with like Vue.js. And now in the last 2 years, I've learned a meta framework for Vue.js, which is called Nuxt. And Nuxt is a really, really powerful framework where you can build server-side apps, so like SSR. You can do traditional single-page JavaScript apps, SPAs, or you can do static site-generated websites, SSG. There's SSR, SPA, and SSG. Or what's really crazy with Nuxt is you can do like hybrid modes. So you can do like part static, part server-side rendered, part SPA. It's crazy. So anyway, if you're wondering like why the UI stuff is so different, the back end, the engine, the CLI, all of like even the app that wraps the UI, that's all C Sharp. But the actual UI is a Nuxt project, and that's just because I'm a Vue and a Nuxt guy. I really like it. Let me show you what it looks like. And this is the first time I'm opening up this application on my PC here. So I need to install dependencies first. I really need that mic arm because this mic is kind of in my way. Also, sorry if the sound is a little weird on the mic. The little gain knob on the bottom of it kind of changes on its own sometimes, which drives me absolutely insane. I really, really need that mic arm. Okay. Can you see my screen, hopefully? Yeah, hopefully that's coming through okay. I think so. Probably good enough. Okay. What in the world is this? Yes, it's fine. Okay. So we need to CD into the folder. So, you know what I'll do? I think I would rather open up the entire repo folder, not just a subfolder. Okay, let's do that. Close that window. Perfect. And it's here in Apps, Didact Console UI. There we go. Okay. Okay. So let's do CD apps, CD Didact Console UI. And let's do npm install. So we're doing that because, again, this is a Nuxt project, which is Nuxt is the meta framework that sits on top of Vue. So whenever you clone a Git repo to a new machine, you got to get your dependencies. Kind of like .NET Restore, I think is what it's called in C#. I do love single-page applications. I love building them with Vue and Nuxt and all that good stuff. But man, installing node modules always sucks. Oh, it is so slow. While this is installing, I've actually kind of been checking out some cool stuff with Dino lately. For those of you that may not know, there's a guy named Ryan Dahl, I believe is how you say his name. He is the father of Node.js. Node.js completely changed the entire software engineering world because essentially JavaScript was brought down to the machine in a way where you can run it server side and you can do all this crazy, package manager stuff and NPM stuff and whatever. NPM is the package manager for Node.js. And Ryan actually ended up building like a new JavaScript runtime called Dino. So it's kind of like, what do you call them? Anagrams? Like the word node, if you make like an anagram of it, one of the anagrams is Dino. It's got a little dinosaur as the like logo for it or whatever. But yeah, I've been checking his stuff out, which is quite interesting. Dino looks like it's got a lot of nice defaults and like modernizations built in that vanilla Node.js is missing. So it would be kind of cool to like see where that goes. I'm super tempted to like use it sometimes, but all the tutorials and the documentation sites and everything else that I see is still wired up with Node. And so, I don't know. I just haven't pulled the plug on it yet, honestly. No, that's okay. Wow, this is really slow. Super sorry about that. It's taking a little bit longer than I wanted. That's okay. Well, you know what? While that's doing that, we can work on the back end stuff. How about that? we'll do some back-end work while that's doing its thing. Should probably make like a proper Git branch or something, but yeah, that's okay. We're just gonna let it do its thing. That's gonna be a little while, I can tell. Good gracious. Okay. Well, why don't we play around with the back end, because I've gotta get this stuff done too. This is super important to knock out. So I was trying to figure out for the back end piece. Now remember, this is Didact Console, so this is the little web app that customers will use to get like their license keys, to manage their billing and stuff like that. I haven't done any work essentially with this yet. So I was trying to think the other day though. I was like, what kind of abstractions do I need for this back end piece? And essentially I was trying to go through in my head, and I was thinking like, what are all the calling apps, you know, that this backend license server console REST API code is going to use? Like, what's all the backend stuff that's going to be needed? And is there going to be any callers like outside of the REST API? And I think I basically came to the conclusion, not really. I think like there could be commands that I add to Didact CLI, which is a public facing app, where like you could run commands or something, and you know, it could authenticate with the console REST API. It could send commands up to a URL. I don't know, whatever it is. But as far as the backend stuff goes for Didact Console's backend, I don't think there's going to be any other apps that are really used. I think you're on the one side, you're going to have the public facing stuff that Didact has, which is the engine, the UI, the CLI, some NuGet packages, and that's pretty much the main stuff for like the public facing part of the apps. And then on the console side, you'll have the UI for Didact Console here, and you'll have the REST API and license server. And I don't think there's really going to be any other callers that I can think of where like certain things are going to have to happen in here. So I think we're not going to introduce. I was going to say, you know, we don't necessarily have to introduce another project. Hold on. Let me, kind of wondering that now. Let me check something here. This lo-fi music is so good, by the way. I love listening to some lo-fi while I work. Hold on just a second. I need to research something real quick. Sorry if I look kind of awkward. I really need that mic arm. Sorry, I'm typing on the other screen here. Sorry, I'm looking up something before I get going with a little more here. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I was just looking up something. Yeah, so, yeah, I think I stand by what I was saying a second ago. I just don't think it's necessary to have like a shared class library project or like a core project right now. Um, because there's only like for the services and the business logic and so on that I need to use, there's really only one host application that's going to use that business logic, and I think it's just going to be the REST API. I don't think there's going to be any sort of like closed source or like private CLI that I create, like just for me. There's going to be the public Didact CLI, but I don't think I'm going to have any other kind of CLI. I'm not going to make any desktop apps. I can't really think of any other like server apps that I need either. I think it probably just makes sense to just keep the backend for the Didact console web app as just one web API project and just put stuff into folders where it makes sense and blah blah blah. Just kind of keep things easy. I think that probably makes the most sense. Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. Let's see if the UI ever finished here. Oh, good, 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 good. No. Oh, good. I think it actually finished. Okay, hold on. I'll show you the UI. Let's see if I can actually launch the thing here on my local. Let's see. Is it going to work? I don't know, but we're gonna find out. Okay, I think looks like the client warmed up, so let's see what it looks like. Did it load? Hey, all right. Yeah, so check it out. So this is like super basic stuff, right? But this is like sort of the idea for what I want to build, um, or what I am building, I should say. So this would be like for the paid customers, right? This would not necessarily be for like a free user, but for a paid customer, you would have the console web app here where you can log in and you can get your API keys. And if you want to do Stripe billing, if you want to manage plans or something like that, you can come in here and do that. If you have an organization, which everybody will because of the way I'm going to set up like the database, but if you want to add like teammates to it or change like organization level settings or org info or something like that, this would be like the one-stop admin app where you can do all that stuff. And then down here at the bottom, I think I've got, yeah, a log out and a profile modifier. I'll go back and watch the stream later because I want to see how it looks. But like, I'm using Tailwind and Prime Vue, which is a UI library for Vue.js and Nuxt and the other associated one. I guess it's just for Vue and Nuxt actually. But I actually like it. It looks pretty good. I want it to be a little bit more compact. Some of the white spacing and the borders and stuff are a little too far away for my liking. So I may need to like change that as time passes. Kind of gets on my nerves a little bit right now. But honestly, it looks pretty good. And I actually did like these effects myself with Tailwind, so the hover effects and the shadow and all that, and all the spacing and everything. I've done all that myself. It's just kind of a rudimentary, version 1 UI, and I think that's fine. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. It doesn't need to be anything like super perfect, amazing, ultra fancy. It just needs to be functional, easy to use, makes sense, all that kind of good stuff. And, we can kind of go from there. one thing I really want to get good at over the next, year, I guess couple years really, is just building beautiful user interfaces because it's tough. UI is so freaking hard, especially if you're a back end guy like me and you're used to like back end data, database type stuff. Building a user interface is pretty tough, I'm not gonna lie. So I have to always remind myself to relax and not go overboard with perfectionism. It doesn't have to be perfect, at least not for the version 1. It's just got to be functional. So I think this is a pretty decent functional looking UI. So like on this page, you would go to API keys and you could see like all your API keys and audit history and all that kind of good stuff. I really like Stripe too, and I'm taking some inspiration from the Stripe dashboard and how they wire things up because I think there's something to kind of be learned from that would be really good. So, yeah, this is what the user interface looks like. Looks pretty good. I've got to add an authentication system for this so you can log in. Yuck. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Yeah, that's not going to be fun. Yeah, that's just not gonna be fun. Probably gonna add Microsoft Intro external ID so people can do logins and that kind of stuff. Yeah, we'll probably not do that on this stream. I'll probably do some of that stuff not on stream. It's going to be a little bit of a pain. So, you know what? We'll just do some back-end work. Let's just, I know the stream's kind of been going for a little while already, and I've already got, pretty long stream. I think I could chop up and edit and everything. And I think, I think we'll just do a little bit of back-end work and probably call it quits pretty soon. Maybe we'll get some more people to join next time. I'll just do a little bit of cleanup. I'm going to go ahead and add some defaults that I usually like to add to stuff like this. Cool fact, by the way, if you're on GitHub, you can go to the home page of a repository, like the root page of a repository you're working with, and you can hit the period on your keyboard, and it opens up a web-based version of VS Code, which is super cool. Yes, yes, yes. Stupid thing. Okay. Always got to go through a million logins on these darn things. Okay. So we're just going to add some nice little defaults in here. Make it a little easier to use. Sometimes you just got to do the good old copy and paste. Nothing quite works as good as that. Okay. Lowercase routing. I always like to have lowercase routing. I think that looks really good. And we're going to add a Swagger gen statement. Add some useful information for Swagger. This will be the Didact console API. We'll say the REST API and license server used as the backend for the for Didact console. Oops. Cool. All right, let's set some stuff up here. Let's do models, and we're going to come in here and we're going to do a constants class. So I'm a big fan of using what's called like a static constants class. I like constants because what you can do in these classes is define like hard-coded values. Like you can do hard-coded strings. You can do like preset numbers that may be important for some reason. If you use, for example, the results pattern when you're building like services in your layers, there may be like specific error codes or like hard-coded values you want to reference in your app over and over and over again. And sometimes it's just kind of nice, not sometimes, it's always nice to have those defined in one place. To have one source of truth, because if you hard code, like say a string in 10 different places in your application, well, what happens if you change 9 of them but you forget the 10th one? Then you're going to have like some stupid weird bug that happens somewhere. It's going to be a pain in the neck. It's a code smell. So I'm a big fan of using constants classes to do like hard coded strings and stuff like that. I think that it works really good. So let us do that. We'll just do a little Swagger version here. Public const string. I'll probably come back and change this later, but whatever. It's fine. Let's do Swagger API version. I don't know, something like that. And we'll do V1. Good old IntelliSense, always trying to guess what I want here. All right, so Swagger API version, that's going to be in constant. And we're going to reference that up at the top. What the heck do you do? I think it's using static constants. Is that right? There's a way you can do this, and I can never remember. Constants dot Swagger API version. Is there not a way you can do that? No. Is that it? Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, nice. If we do that, it's kind of nice. You can get rid of having to reference the name of the static class, which is kind of convenient. You just throw a static using namespace statement at the top, which is rather convenient. I kind of like it. Okay. Good deal, good deal. Got a little bit going here. Let's see what else. What else do I usually throw up in here? Let's see. Also, usually do XML comments. Right. And I believe that's in project properties. If you want your XML comments to show up, it's always a good idea to have this. Where the heck is it? Ah, there we go. Project properties, build. Looks like it's an output documentation file. Check that to save. There we go. I learned if you forget to check that project setting and you have like a options.include XML comments here in SwaggerGen, there will be like some stupid build error that'll happen because it's basically the project is not building a documentation file, I guess, of some sort with the XML comments that Swagger needs. So if you ever have this like options.include XML comment statement, make sure that you actually make sure you check that project setting. There we go. My brain was going dead on me for a minute. Also, I hope you can see this code okay. I may have to come back and like change the resolution or something. I have the resolution set to 175% on my PC, but I can still zoom in like on VS Code, and I just haven't done that. I don't know if I need to like zoom in more. I feel like you can see that much easier. So maybe I need to do like, We need to do like 125% zoom. It's a bit too much for me. I don't like it, but I know that I'm having a show that's on stream, and I want you to be able to like read the text a little easier. So I think I'll just need to make some notes of my sound levels, and then I'll make notes of resolution and editor zoom so you can actually read my code, okay? Okay, anyway. What else we got here? I'm gonna go ahead and close that UI for now. We don't need that at the moment. Not sure what's going on there. Okay. What else do we want? Probably we're gonna want probably going to want a course policy while we do local development. I'm just going to see what port number, 3000, of course. Okay. Yeah, let's do a course policy for local development only. So I can call from the dev server on Nuxt here, which what I did last time was I made a static class called course policy names. So we're going to come here. Why does that oh, okay, I have to fix that fragment warning. Okay. Public static class, course policy names, public constring, I think this one was called development, dev cores, something like that. Just keep it real simple. Course policy names, and we'll do dev cores, and we'll get rid of constants because we've got the static namespace declaration at the top. This should probably be like an app settings value, but I'm not too worried about it right now. We're just gonna leave it hard coded, just to keep everything simple. In which case, if I'm doing actual local dev work, and I'll probably need to do something for staging, but that's okay. Then we'll keep it simple for now. We'll come back and add some stuff later. Come up here, public constring staging. Let's do stage chords. Okay. Yeah, close enough. Something like that. Okay. Alright, good deal, good deal, good deal. What else do we want here? Looking at just basic configuration stuff here. You know, can't really think of a whole lot, honestly. I've got my lowercase URL statement that I like to have. Got Swagger Gen, got controllers, got a little bit of Swagger doc stuff. XML comments, little dev course policy. I usually make an app settings class for the app settings file and do a configure statement, builder.services.configure. And also, do I want to go ahead and add memory cache here? I mean, probably. Why not? Sure. Let's go ahead and add it. We'll probably use it. We'll use it probably one way or another. Yeah, we'll probably use it one way or another. It'll be okay. Let's do builder services add memory cache. We will probably want to cache some stuff, especially with the licensing server. Okay. Yeah, I think we're looking pretty good, at least for some preliminary stuff. Let's go ahead and get rid of this pre-generated junk here. Don't need that, and I don't believe we need, yeah, it's all just pre-generated junk. Goodbye. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Bam, out of here. All right, good deal. All right, go ahead and, whew, excuse me. Let's go ahead and save that, and go ahead and make a couple git commits here. It's always a good idea to try and make some git commits in small units, so it's easy to backtrack your history. Don't like doing gigantic commits. That's no fun for anybody. So let's just say deleted pre-generated web API junk. Goodbye. Why can I not commit that? Am I missing something? I wonder, do I need to sign in with, hold up, do I need to, why can I not? Am I not signed in? I need to sign in, like, oh, okay. Is that what it is? I need to, all right, hold up. Give me just a second here. Need to sign in to Git is probably what the problem is. Well, a little hard to push it to GitHub, I guess, if I'm not signed into Git, right? Okay, did that work? Maybe? Yes? No? Not sure. Huh. For some reason, it is, you know what, let's close this Visual Studio, and I'm just going to open it back up. Oops. Not sure why it's being stupid, but we'll find out. Check on the live stream, make sure everything's okay. I haven't even like checked my own live stream in a while. Maybe I'm supposed to do that. Is there like a studio? Oh yeah, right. There's like a live control room you can do. How long has this been going on anyway? I'm not even sure. It doesn't even tell you, does it? That's been going on for a little while. Okay, so I need to fix the bitrate. My bitrate is too low on the stream for some reason, and I don't know why. Oh, there it is, hour and 27 minutes, okay. Oh, perfect, there we go. We're good, everybody. We're good, okay. It was just a GitHub authentication thing, go figure. Always something stupid. just I'll just do program.cs work in progress. All right, good deal, good deal. Look at my project manager here. Yeah, I've got a good bit of work to do with this, so. All right, well, it is 10:30, and I've got a little bit of work done on this. I think this was a fun test stream to try out. Yeah, for anybody that joined, thank you for joining. This is really fun. I'm going to try and do this a lot more often so that people can watch me live stream. For anyone who's interested, I think it would be fun to go back, and even for me, just to go back and watch these. I've got a lot of fun thoughts to talk about with Didact, a lot of opinions on how the software is architected, and yeah, I just love kind of chatting with people and talking with people and so on. So please do join again if you haven't. And for those of you that did, thanks for tuning in. See you again real soon. All right, bye.